Hello, and welcome to another episode of Responsigility, where you learn to be in the moment, anticipate the moment, and do what's necessary to move yourself and others forward. Today, my guest is Ellen Mannaert, and I met her in Portugal, and her story of authenticity and how she has learned to embrace all of her is awe-inspiring, and I wanted to bring her here as a guest so you don't have to go to Portugal or anywhere in the world that she is. She can come directly to your house or your office. So Ellen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So where in the world do you live?
So I am based between the Netherlands and Dubai. Dubai is more work related, and Netherlands is really my base. I was born and raised in the Netherlands. It's a small country, but I love it here. So, and my children, I raised my children here. So, but between those time, I did move abroad for a few years as well for our businesses. But my base location is the Netherlands.
Great. And tell us a little bit about what you do for a living, and then this how speaking and coaching people came into your life, and then we'll get into more of the authenticity. But like, who are you and why should anybody listen?
Well, I'm Ellen Mannaert, and I'm not urging anybody to listen. But if you are listening, if somebody brought you here to this beautiful podcast, then I'm just here to inspire you to live your authentic self. And I know a lot of people, a lot of mentor coaches, even businesses now use the word authenticity. Be authentic. But what does it really mean? What does it really mean for you? So I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I started my journey in textile. I have a degree in fashion and design, and I really love fabrics and fashion. And after finishing fashion and design, I actually end up in textile. And yeah, I don't want to go all the way there how I started my journey in textile, but from from a 19-year-old just finished her fashion design degree, I started in a fashion textile empire, and I became, I think in 5 years time, the biggest sales textile network for whole Europe and abroad. So with my
Awesome.
creativity and just my mission to do things differently.
Great.
And so I think from the get go, I always wanted to be authentic, and it has to do a little bit with my background. My parents were the first immigrants from Ghana that moved to the Netherlands. As I said in my introduction, I was born and raised in the Netherlands, and they didn't have an easy time. So growing up, I will always see my parents struggling.
Mm,
And they came with this big dream to Europe, but unfortunately, especially for my mother, it didn't end well. And
mm,
looking back, I'm of course super thankful to her that she was brave enough to come to this new continent as an immigrant, and to try to make a living here. But it became so overwhelming for her, leaving her family, leaving whatever she had known until the time, that unfortunately she started drinking and abusing alcohol. And when I was 16 years old, she passed away. So my whole childhood was a little bit turbulent during, and so I didn't see a lot of structure, a lot of stability, and I was always surviving until I was 16, 17 years old. So you can imagine that after my mother died, even if what I had known until the time was very turbulent, I was still missing a base and somebody there, to support me. So I felt this big emptiness. But I didn't want to give up. There was something in me there, even through everything that I was going through. I always felt this little light and sparkle inside of me of survival.
mm.
So I was able to turn that grief, that pain into achieving, like finishing my school, going to the textile business, and really pouring all my energy in being an entrepreneur and succeeding. Because I think at that time I was afraid. I didn't want to become my mother.
Yep,
And
this is so good. So let's hold right there. So here you
yeah,
are, you're 16 years old. Your mom and dad are immigrants. You were raised in another country, they obviously, somebody made it, because you wouldn't be here if the dad didn't make it. The mom
Mhm.
struggled, but she was still around till you were 16. What was the moment you said, I want something different? I am not going to go down that path? Because I call that your moment of enlightenment, or your moment of responsibility. Like, I'm either going to wind up like my parent or not. What was the moment in time that you woke up to that or had that insight?
So that is a beautiful question, because you would think that it happened along my journey, after my mother passed. But my biggest awakening actually came when I turned 38. And I remember this day so well, because before that, I was successful. I achieved a lot, but I was never myself, because I saw myself as pure myself, as my authentic self, always with this dark side of raising up with an abusive mother who used alcohol, who passed away, who wasn't accepted in the society. So I erased that whole part of myself.
Mm.
And it did work for me, because I became somebody that the society wanted to see. Successful, very well spoken. I fit in every room. So it helped me, but I was so unhappy until I couldn't anymore. And I remember this day so well. I was 38. We were on a ski holiday with my family, and I started to creating this very dark thoughts, like I don't want to live anymore, because you
Mm.
can pretend, but your soul can't. And I felt like at that moment, my soul was fed up pretending, of being somebody that I was not, of not living authentically. So at that point in the church, I was alone. My family went out skiing, and I told them, I made an excuse. I'm not feeling well. I'm staying in the hotel. So I went out of the hotel. I went on walking, and it's like a dream. I walked into the church. I fell down on my knees as soon as I was in the church. And I say to myself, I surrender. I surrender being somebody that I'm not. And I think I say that out loud maybe for 5 times. And I just felt in this stillness for a long time. And actually, so there is where my awakening started, when I was
Wow.
38 years old.
So when you were a kid and you had this trauma, it sounds like you did what you needed to do to survive. So you
Correct.
buckled up,
Yeah.
you dug in, and
Mhm.
you suppressed those pieces of yourself that made you fearful. Um, the
Correct.
dark, the shadow,
Yeah.
the
And
and
vulnerable. Yeah.
yeah.
Like this,
And
like
so
this mask. Yeah.
what was showing up to the world? What did the world see when they looked at Ellen?
They saw a very, I think, outgoing, outspoken person who would always attend to your needs, who would always laugh at somebody's joke, who would always seem to be very involved. So always somebody that was present, but only from the outside. And I think I was very, because I taught myself that for years, how to pretend, how to fit in, until I started believing it. So I think when they saw me, they just saw somebody that actually always fitted in. So I was usually also welcome in many rooms. So it
Yeah.
did help me
Yeah, I was
until
going to
it
say,
didn't help me anymore.
what were some of the strengths? Because I don't think you would be the largest entrepreneur in textiles if along with that acting didn't come some strengths. So what were some of your strengths besides walking into a room and lighting it up, and what
I
else were
was
some of your superpowers?
My superpower was creativity, being curious. So I could easily communicate with other people, because I was always curious about
Mhm.
somebody else's story. And I was very good in making people comfortable around me. So that's also one of the main reasons, and one of the main trademark of myself, that helped me create this large network. So just being curious, asking questions, fitting in, and making people feel comfortable around me.
Yeah. And then, the the bottom fell out and you got encapsulated, it sounds like, by grief.
Mm-hmm.
And you surrendered. It sounds like you were at church.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Correct.
surrendered to God, maybe, or to yourself or to a higher power, but you got on your knees, which is a
Mm-hmm.
sign of surrender. And
Correct.
do you remember what you said that day? Or
At that moment, I just spoke out loud. I surrender. I surrender being
mm,
somebody that I'm not. Because at that
mm,
point, having all these dark thoughts, I was so afraid and I didn't saw a way out anymore. And I
mm,
really thought, if I don't change, I will become my mother, because she did die on a alcohol overdoses. Not that
yeah.
I
Well,
was abusing alcohol, but I did have the thought, like, maybe I can do something to myself as
yeah, the
well.
pain, the pain. See, that's what people don't know is that this is more psychology, but there's a light and there's a dark, just like everything else
Mm-hmm.
in the world
Correct.
and in every Disney movie. We have an
Mm-hmm.
internal villain and an internal hero.
Yeah.
And we think if we push like our parents' wounds or our childhood wounds, if we could push them away, they'll never show up. But
Correct.
then one day, and usually it is midlife between 35 and 45, we
Yeah.
keep going and going and going. And then one day we have a breakdown, either a physical breakdown, like
Yeah.
health, or an emotional breakdown, like something bad happens and we cannot overcome it, or
Correct.
a mental breakdown.
Correct.
Or it doesn't even have to look like a breakdown, but it could be a series of things that happen that aren't very good for us and that we're not navigating well. And so it sounds like the depression came in and you were not navigating well and you had a oh my goodness moment. And then what happened?
After I surrender, it was like a spell. Saying I surrender, for me, it felt like a spell, because after that, I felt in this stillness, just sitting there in the church. And I don't know what happened, but I became clear. This clarity came into me, like, there is a way out. There is a light path. This is not the end. This just happened to you, but this is not your story. So after saying that, uh, not only saying that, but really also being this in the stillness, accepting. Before that, it was not only the grief, but I wouldn't ever accept my parents, my childhood, the little girl, the teenage girl, the young adult. I never accept all of those versions of me throughout my journey. They didn't matter to me. They didn't exist. I only accepted the perfect version that I had created.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't accept my mother, my
God,
father.
that's so good. That's so good. So I don't know if you've seen this documentary. Jane Mansfield was like a sex symbol of the 50s. And there's a movie that Mariska Hargitay is a really well-known actress, like in NCI, and she's like
Oh,
investigating all these bad things that happen. Anyway, she's at the top of her career. And in this documentary called My Mom Jane, Jayne, she for years had pushed away her mother's memory. Like, I don't want to have any association with her. She was a sex symbol and I'm a professional actor. And somewhere in her midlife, she went on a mission to learn about her mother. And
yeah.
it's like you could have written that documentary. So I recommend you see it, My Mom Jane by Mariska
I love that. Thank
Hargitay.
you so much.
It'll bring something, it'll add to your thought.
Similarities, or maybe something that I can love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something that you can capitalize on for your own
Mhm.
message for women, because
Yeah.
Maritzka's like in Hollywood. She's not having talks like this with everyday people.
Yeah.
Although her movie was quite well about accepting your parents. The other thing is that I hear in your story, when you were caught in this emotional turmoil, for whatever reason, it just like caught up with you one day, whatever, it doesn't even matter why, but you were
Mhm.
caught in the swirl. That's what I call friction. And then you stopped and you dropped to you literally stopped.
Literally.
And you connected, I surrender to a higher power.
Correct.
Whether it's your higher power or a external higher power. And then you listened, and then you gained clarity.
Correct.
And then I want to know, like, if I'm using my sculpt process or from responsibility, moving friction to flow, what was the next action you took?
Being vulnerable. Because before that time, I didn't even know what it felt like, what the word even really inhales means, because I taught myself to be strong, because I knew if I'm not strong, somebody will come and abuse me or whatever. So I needed to be strong. So I never shared anything about myself, even not to my children, even not to my husband. They will always see this power woman that had always had everything under control, and everything is perfect, even in the house. So after that, the next day we went to breakfast with the family, with my husband and my 3 sons. And that was for the first time that I opened up to them about everything. And the beauty was that before that time, I thought, well, when my husband really hears about my story, when my children hears about their grandmother, they will connect me with her. They will compare me with her. They will not love me the same or have all this judgment. But the first thing that they told me was, Mom, you were just a child. How proud are we of you that you had survived this, and it's not your fault. And my husband say the same. So my advice in here is also that a lot of time when you keep things in your mind because you are ashamed, and shame was a big thing for me as well. When you are ashamed and you feel like, when I get exposed for something, the people around me that matters, they won't love me or respect me or see me the same way. That is not true. The people that really love you, they will actually hold you up and they will carry you through it. So that was my biggest lesson in there.
Yeah, what's interesting is I have 3 sons too. And I also did not talk about my dad's addiction until my kids were old enough, like in their 18 to 30s. But it was never talked about. And I actually admire that you did it when your kids were younger.
Yeah.
And that you saw that. I saw a little bit of it and I did shift, but I didn't see the hold that his addiction had on my development until I was in my 50s. Like when I really started doing the child within work, like what is going on with that girl? Because I think most of us that grow up in traumatic households, specifically alcoholisms, alcoholism, drug addiction, some, whatever that wildness that is going on that creates all that volatility, uncertainty, chaos, complexity, and confusion. I think when people grow up in that environment, what they want to do is escape it as soon as possible. They want to move on. I can't wait till I graduate high school. I can't wait till I graduate college. I'm going to live my life. And they think they left the kid at the train station. Like they don't really wait, that person still lives in you, still has needs, needs to grow up a little bit. And maybe you need to be your own parent, which is what I think also you learned, like, it's okay to be you. Like, you don't have to pretend to be, in one of the trainings that I participated in, I didn't give it. They called the teenager the madolescent. Like that mad, angry teenager.
Exactly.
And then the child, the wounded child, because it's the wounded child that creates the mad adolescent. And we have to make friends with all these pieces of ourselves.
You will get conversations and then looking back like, oh my God, I'm an adult, but I was talking like this mad teenager. What is happening here?
Yes.
Or I was acting as a child with my own child, but I'm an adult.
Yeah. Well,
so when you get this clarity, everything, opens up as well.
I see it a lot where the mom becomes a 13-year-old arguing with her 13-year-old, or the dad becomes a 9-year-old arguing with his wife and she's 9. And instead of having two 35-year-old conversations, They're both two
Correct.
9-year-olds that never got their needs met.
So true. So true. It's so it is. It is. Yeah.
And it's interesting that happens in the workplace all the time.
During my coaching and mentoring, especially workshops in companies, I will always, grab that part when there is a friction, especially with the leader and like the team, and say like, how do you actually communicate with each other? And most of the time, people don't know it. And it's also not an easy thing because I needed to go through all of it to realize that sometimes I was acting like this, mad teenager or
Right.
this young girl,
Right. Right.
So
Right.
it's not an easy thing. But when you realize that and when you start doing the work and you understand where it comes from, you get a whole new different
Now
perspective of a lot of things.
it sounds like it made a difference for you and your kids. And
Oh, for
I'd
sure.
like you to share with the audience how. Then it sounds like it made a difference with you and your marriage. I'd like you to share how. And then I'd like you finally to share how this has impacted your business life and this embracing authenticity has worked for you, because a lot of people that are listening and that will listen, they also believe they have to walk around with a mask so that
Mhm.
people don't know who they really are. Because if they knew who they really were, they might
Yeah.
judge them. So tell us, how has it impacted your relationship as a parent, marriage, and work?
So as a parent, when I became vulnerable, when I opened up to my children and just say, this happened to me. And at this point, I'm struggling because I never dealt with my trauma. So I'm going to search for help. I'm going to have therapy. I'm going to work on myself. And maybe around this time, our household will be different. Sometimes you will see me cry. Sometimes you will see me write, but I have to deal with it now. And I apologized that I wasn't able to deal with it before. And then my oldest son told me, like, Mom, don't apologize. We are just proud of you that you are doing it now. But the most beautiful thing that I saw, because before that time, my relationship with my boys and what they saw from me was the perfect mother. So what was I doing? I was not giving them the space and the room to grow as their own authentic self, because they couldn't match up with me until I dropped the mask. We could have real deep conversation. They could tell me that they are hurt or they wanted to do something different. And we got conversation that was so deep and so truth that I thought, wow, I would have missed all of this. My children would have grown, went off to college, went off into their marriage, not being able to be vulnerable in their own home. And it's so important. I don't only want to put this on the mother, because the father has a part in this as well. But just me as a woman, it's so important to show our vulnerabilities to our sons and daughters. Because if we don't, children learn not only from our words, but from our actions and from our doings. So if they don't get the example at home, they will struggle in their young adulthood. So when I did that, before my son left the house at 22, moving to Dubai, he told me, I want to go in therapy. And before, I will tell you this, I would never have imagined my son always, being this tough guy, doing all these hobbies, like how I know him, being vulnerable and telling me, well, because of everything I went through these last 2 years, I feel like that I'm stuck. And I saw you going to therapy. So, Mom, do you think this will benefit me as well? And he did. And so our whole relationship changed so much more authentic. And I don't know how to explain it in words, but it's so enriching when you can have real deep conversations with your children without any mask.
Very, very powerful. And what I'm hearing is it gives your kids an opportunity to be real and to
Yes.
know that they don't need to be perfect. And here's
Yes.
what you didn't say, but you did say, they're not going to be out there looking for the perfect woman because she doesn't
Correct.
exist.
That's what I expect. They are not going to take that into their relationship because they know who
Yeah.
they are in the core.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
didn't know that as a young adult, going into relationship with men and, eventually, having a relationship with my husband. It took us years. And with the relationship with my husband, there came so much more understanding. And I'm just grateful that he gave me the room to work on myself and to deal with my trauma, even in our high peak, having 3 children, businesses, a lot of things going on. He never told me like, you are dropping the ball or why you're not helping more. So I really am appreciative of that. But then what happened, because I went through that phase, something happened with him later in life where he lost his brother on cancer. And my husband comes from a family where they don't even talk about emotions. He told me, well, Ellen, I saw that you are working on yourself for the last 2 years. I feel stuck as well. I think I need help. And he was 56, somebody that never had asked for help, living in this powerful man world, but nobody asked for help. And I think for men, it's even more challenging asking
Yeah.
for
It takes
help.
a big person to
Yes,
say, here's the white flag. I
exactly.
surrender. Get help.
Exactly.
Help. And then how
Exactly.
has this impacted your career?
In so many ways, I feel like all my relationships have enriched my team. I have an amazing team that had stick with me now for many years. Well, before people would leave me, I think that is the biggest change that I see. Because when when you are pretending, you don't give room for your own team members to grow and to be themselves. So eventually, they will feel stuck as well, and they will leave you. So dropping that mask, being real, being authentic, showing up if you're not feeling like it, and just say, well, I'm having a off day today, but I'm here. But also giving them the room that what I didn't do before, because when I was the leader, only accepting perfection, I never get the result that I wanted. And now that I'm the leader that creates room for failure, our company is so much more bigger because my team gets to be creative.
And
They
it's more
get to
fun, I'm
fall and
sure,
learn
for
from it.
them. I'm sure it's more fun
Exactly.
for them. Good,
Exactly. Yeah.
good, good. So if people want to follow you, do you have a blog? Do you have a website where people can find you?
I do. So they can find me on www.ellenmannaert.com. Very easy. You can find my history there, everything that I do, my speaking engagement, and I'm busy with a book now. So I'm going to combine the book that I'm writing with my early childhood struggles. And especially it's also like an ode to my mother because I understand her more than ever. And then how I combine that with my businesses. The title is In Between Two Suns. So coming from Africa to Europe,
Oh, wow.
raising your children in between those two sons and how it affected me and affected her. So, and the release date will be in January. So I will keep everybody updated about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
you can just click the link and you can find Ellen. Ellen, thank you so much for using your life as a laboratory to develop others and as having your life be a light that gives people hope and a way to settle in and live in alignment. And so thank you for being on
Thank you so
Responsibility.
much, Margaret.
For
Thank you.
everybody watching, look within for what's important to you and be
True.
aware and awake of your body and what it's doing and what it's telling you. And if you need help, ask for it. Ask for
Exactly.
it. There's lots of resources, not just coaching, but there's mental health resources. And
True.
we're actually going to have a list in the show notes for this of mental health resources and how to reach Ellen and myself and lots of other resources too. So thank you so much for being with us today. And bye, everybody. See you next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.